What's going on, everybody? And Spencer, welcome back. This is episode number 59 of the Shutdown Inning Podcast. I'm Steven Rissotto, alongside, as always, my partner in crime, Officer Tylor Hall. What's up, Tyler? How's it going?
Officer Tylor Hall. Hey, everybody. Doing good, Steven. How are you? Happy
I'm
holidays, my
doing good.
friend.
I said Officer Tyler Hall because I just recently saw Zootopia, and they're animal cops in that movie. So, um,
And I'm neither an animal nor a cop, so I get it.
yeah, completely unrelated, but a lot to get into in the baseball world. First of all,
Wait, we're
Tyler,
blowing by this. I said happy holidays. You got any big plans for the holidays? What's
I
going
was
on?
just about
What's
to ask
Christmas
you.
like? Well, you're talking about a lot to talk about. I thought we were getting right into ball, so I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was about to get to that. Yeah, first of all, yeah, happy holidays, Merry Christmas. Like anything going on with you, and then I'll tell you what I got going on with me. But ladies first.
Oh, you're he's got the jokes today, everybody. Yeah, just enjoying the weeks leading up to Christmas with my son Hunter. He's 5 now, so he's fully aware of what's about to go down next week, and just all the family and all the toys. We have a lot of the presents wrapped under the tree now, just to kind of get the good Christmas vibes going, and yeah, just really enjoying having the holidays with the little guy.
See, it is interesting because I do want to ask. So you are like a presence under the tree even before the holiday guy? Because I know for my family, for my entire childhood, my parents would like grab stuff out of the closet on Christmas Eve, and then there would be stuff there before Christmas morning, but not any of the days leading up. So that's interesting. I guess
Yeah,
it's normal that there's presents under the tree.
Yeah, the stuff that's like for us as a family to or from each other, for like my parents who are coming over Christmas morning under the tree. And then, of course, the big guy Santa comes Christmas Eve, and those magically appear overnight.
Yeah.
So those are the presents that come out of the closet for Christmas morning.
Any milk and cookies out on the mantle or whatever?
Absolutely. Leave a little note from Santa. I keep my previous year's note as like a template of how I like decided Santa's handwriting mu would look. So keep that continuity going, and yeah, leave him a little note, take a bite or two out of some cookies, drink some milk, the whole nine, dude.
So what would it take for you to like adopt me so I could also experience this?
I mean,
You don't have to answer that. We can move on. Anyways, with
that's for
my
that's for when we're not recording.
yeah, for for uh for my holiday plans, we usually go to my grandma's house for Christmas Eve. And we do some gifts there with cousins and aunts and uncles. And then Christmas morning, it's just basically my family. And then that entire group from Christmas Eve the night before, they come over our house. So
For
it's a
like
little
dinner that night.
for dinner that night. So it's kind of the same side of the family for both days. And should be a lot of fun. It also means that I have to clean up, and it's always fun to do that. But got to clean up. Still living at home. Definitely got to tidy up. Be the help that I could be on that day in cleaning the whole house up, and it'll be fun. But I got some other stuff before then. It's a tradition we always make gnocchis, Italian
Nice.
gnocchis, with my grandma. So we'll be doing that. We're rolling some dough the day before Christmas Eve. I meet up with my former high school baseball teammates some point. We go bowling. We'll do that at some point. So there's a lot going on. My shopping is done though, so that's good.
Nice. Yeah, my shopping's all done. Waiting on a couple deliveries, but everything's everything's ordered. The Jello is jiggling. We're good to go.
Good to
So,
know. And you know who else might be good to go? That is one Jeff Kent. And as people that know that listen to us often, we are sticklers for the Hall of Fame. We love the discussion. We are here for the discussion. I think there's a part of us that, we'll get to Bonds in a minute, but if those guys were to ever get in, I think there would be a part of us that would miss hating on the Hall of Fame and having that discussion. But Jeff Kent elected to the Hall of Fame via the Veterans Committee. You called it. It
yeah,
was it
as
was
predicted on the shutdown inning.
I was giving you credit, but what did you think about Jeff Kent getting in?
I mean, I think we've talked about it every time we talk Hall of Fame, back when he was on the regular ballot, now on the contemporary ballot, obviously deserving. I mean, he wasn't my favorite Giant of all time. I wasn't even a big Kent guy when he was playing, just because I was in Barry's corner so much, and they were butted heads so much. But I mean, the numbers speak for themselves. Arguably the greatest offensive second baseman of all time. He also played Survivor. I think he's the first Survivor player to make a Sports Hall of Fame. So, very well deserving. And, it's really unfortunate that this is the how the Hall of Fame operates, and he had to wait for like a back door into the hall, but glad he's going in.
Yeah, and didn't on Survivor his exit thing, he was like, "Yeah, it's not $1 million, it's 600 grand after Obama takes it all or something like that."
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, just kind of a strange personality, a difficult personality, but no doubt about it, Hall of Famer, long overdue. I think you mentioned it last episode that just it was shocking he never got like above however much he got in the voting for the writers ballot every year. Like he never got above like 30% or something crazy like that, which
Yeah.
is really insane. And he stacks up pretty well next to Biggio and Alomar and Sandberg and some of the second basemen already in the Hall of Fame. So it's good to see that he's in there. Slam dunk. I think I'm surprised to an extent that Mattingly didn't get in. I know there's been you're not on Twitter that much, but just a huge social media push for Dale Murphy is one thing I noticed this year. Just he got a ton of support on social media this year. The Braves were pushing hard for him. And Carlos Delgado, a guy ended up who we didn't really have on our radar, ends up getting 9 votes and is very close, and he'll stick around on another ballot because of those 9 votes. But I think the question is before we go off Ken and go to some of the steroid guys, but it's almost like how would the Giants like honor like this is a big deal. I told you this that the night it happened. It's like it's almost weird to think about Jeff Kent being mentioned with the Gaylord Perrys and the Willie Mazes and the McCoveys, but he's going in as a Giant. Like he is a Giants Hall of Famer now.
Yeah.
And for every Hall of Famer, there's something that's been done, whether it be a jersey retirement and a statue. And now it's like, what are you going to do with Jeff Kent? It's kind of like an unlikely guy to have. It comes at a weird time too. So like, how would the Giants honor him?
Yeah, I mean the timing is definitely weird, especially with him being on the same ballot as Bonds, and a lot of I mean, I've thought it as well, but seen a lot of arguments that like is Jeff Kent a Hall of Famer if he didn't have Bonds' protection for all those years? But I mean, the Giants have kind of set the precedent that if you make the Hall of Fame as a Giant in the San Francisco era, you get a statue. So, I mean, everyone talks shit about his defense. Maybe they put the statue at second base since no, but I mean, I don't know where you put it at this point. There's already been talks that they're giving Barry a statue at
Yeah.
some point, whether he makes it in the hall or not. You assume there's going to be a Buster statue at some point in the near future. I assume they'd want to do one for Bochy. So I mean, they're going to have to start getting a little creative with their placements here. But I feel like you can't really celebrate a guy getting into the Hall of Fame and then not treat him as you did the others. I mean, they've also it's kind of strange, similar to Clark, they let other people wear 22. Jeff Kent wore 21. There's been some other Giants wearing 21. But I think that's going in the rafters, obviously. But I think they've especially they would build a statue for Buster, no
Yeah.
doubt. So you can't really say like well, not you, Jeff, skip a guy on the statues if he fits the criteria that they've put out. So it is strange, but it's a good problem to have to get Hall of Famers and figuring out how to honor them. So
Yeah, good problem to have. I don't know what you do. It's one of those situations like you mentioned, like the Bonds one is already in the works. Buster and Bochy are on next year's ballot. Presumably Bochy is. Um, and it's almost like I don't think anybody prepared for this. Like I genuinely don't think the Giants organization prepared for this. And like I think it would just be strange, like walking and seeing a Jeff Kent statue. Like respectfully, no offense to Jeff Kent. And also I think the
why
reason
why would it be strange?
it's just I don't see him on the level as much as he is a Hall of Famer. I just don't. I think there's levels of Hall of Famers. Like as much as you're in, you're in. I know this might sound hypocritical based on what I've said in the past, but like there's inner circle and then there's not. It just that wouldn't be weird seeing a Jeff Kent
I
statue
mean,
outside
I
of Oracle
think
Park.
I think part of it is, I mean, they haven't had any like Giants, guys who I identify as Giants going in with the SF on their cap, since all the guys that have statues now, they've been in for decades, and those are like all-time great, not just
Yeah,
Giants, but baseball players. So I think that jump is where it's kind of like hard to get over. But I mean, he helped lead the Giants to a World Series that they, could have won very easily. He, as much as he definitely benefited from Bonds in the lineup, Bonds needed another guy, another masher in the lineup as well, and so, you know, he helped Barry as well, not to the same extent. So I mean, I think it's got to happen, but yeah, it's
yeah,
where, I mean, eventually, I mean, Oracle Park has a very small footprint, and usually statues are outside of the stadium. Almost any stadium you go to, the statues are outside. So before the game, you go get a picture next to the Willie Mays statue or the Ernie Banks statue at Wrigley. I think they're going to have to eventually start putting some of these inside the stadium. They might even have to do that for Barry's, just so people don't mess with it, people who aren't Giants fans. But
yeah,
maybe they put Bochy's right next to where the triplets are, the World Series trophies that he brought.
yeah.
Maybe. But yeah, we'll have to see what they
And
do
you
with
and I
Kent,
can meet up next to Bochy instead of the trophies. Like, hey, do you want to meet
right?
by Bochy? Yeah, let's meet by Bochy. Yeah. No, but like I think you're right, actually. I think you're right in that I might just be blinded by the precedent that some of those guys already have with like the Marshals and the McCoveys and those guys. They were just such giants, like no pun intended, just such giants in the Hall of Fame and inner circle guys that I guess it's just hard for me to see. And maybe part of it is that just Kent's not really around. Him and the organization don't really have the relationship that, let's say, Will Clark would have. And it's almost like Clark, I could see him getting a statue over Kent, and Clark's not in the Hall of Fame, but just the way that he's been around and been a face of the organization. So we'll see what they do. I mean, I do think there's gonna be a number retirement ceremony at the very least coming
Yeah.
up here probably this year. Um, and like if he didn't get in, would the Giants have done it? Like, would they have retired his number? So it's like a bunch of questions that come into this,
But
but
he did get in, Stephen. But he did get in. So
he
I
did
mean,
get
it
in.
takes the argument away.
I know. Yeah, I know. There's some hypocrisy that I'm
But
spouting here.
But the guys who did not get in and received less than 5 votes, who we talked about last episode, now they have to at least skip a cycle on the contemporary era ballot, which means they won't be eligible till at least the 2032 induction class. So that would be, this time of year in 2031. Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, Gary Sheffield, obviously all tied to PEDs, and then Fernando Valenzuela, which I thought he might get a little bit of a push, maybe not get the I think it was 12 needed to get in, but more of a push with his recent passing, and that kind of helped shine a light on his accomplishments on the field and his impact on baseball as a whole. What were your thoughts on those guys not even receiving the minimum?
Yeah, I thought it would be one of three of Fernando, Murphy, and Mattingly. And with the other guys, I mean, it's no shock. I mean, I don't think any, like, I mean, we, as much as we did the predictions on which Hall of Famers would vote for who, like, there's just no shot. And there's no shot in 2031 either. It's one of those things where it's done. Like, this is the second time that they just haven't received any support on this. And I have um, no inkling that they're going to switch up the process next time around and have guys vote who are not old heads, right? And who are not owners of Major League Baseball. And the two writers they had, probably cast their vote for Bonds and Clemens just like they did on the writers ballot. But I honestly don't have any hope for it. It's a flawed process. And it's just there's there's no hope after this. Like, I mean, he's got one more shot. Then if he doesn't make it, then it's like forever. Like, right?
Yeah.
Unless the Hall of
Forever
Fame
ever.
decides to change its rules again, and at some point the
And
Hall of
actually
Fame,
put the best players in the Hall of Fame. That would be
yeah,
crazy.
yeah, at some point maybe you think the Hall of Fame just decides to, there's a leadership turnover, and whoever's in charge just steps away. I know there's a family in charge that has been in charge for generations, but I don't know what you do, man. This is it. Like I just don't think I don't see any light at the end of the tunnel. Like maybe the light that I saw if he would have stayed on, if he would have been on the writers ballot like 5 years later, you could have seen a significant push, but for some reason, man, I just don't see it at all
I
happening.
mean, you almost, not to spoil, but you almost put Philip Rivers on the ups for the episode.
Yeah,
The Giants might need to, I've talked about it before, sign Barry to like a 10-day contract, get him some at bats, just reset the clock
that would
completely.
be epic. That would be epic, but and he would get on the ballot sooner than he would if 2032, right? So, wait, how many? Let's do some
Yeah,
math
so
here.
like if he played right
Yeah.
now, he'd be back on the ballot in like 2031.
Yeah, he might get in a year earlier. But you know what would happen, Tyler? The Hall of Fame would change their rules. They're gonna
Yeah.
be any anything that we saw that might be mischievous behavior on manipulating time. Yeah, that's what I could see them doing.
Yeah, I'm similar to you. I had like still like a glimmer of hope going into the contemporary ballot, but them not even getting five really damages that. If it might help. I mean, it doesn't help to not get five because that's what really is like your first of two strikes is not getting five. But maybe that extra gap to where now it'll be 6 years until they're on again. Some of those old heads, maybe won't be on the committee anymore. But earlier you said maybe we kind of don't, if Bonds or Clemens eventually get in, we'll stop hating on the Hall of Fame as much and we'll miss it a little bit. I wouldn't miss it. And because it's just, I mean, it's already very close to becoming, as much as I like to like, it's more of a reflection on just like looking at some of the greats' careers and talking about them now for me more than it is recognizing that the Hall of Fame or that they are Hall of Famers, at this point for me. I'm glad that like Buster and Bochy will probably be in before 2032 because if there comes a day and we both seem to feel like that's happening in 2031 where they tell us Barry Bonds will never be in the Hall of Fame, I'm never going to the Hall of Fame again. So I'll make the trip probably for Buster, take Hunter out there for Buster or Bochy's induction, show him the museum. The only time I've been was when I was 15, so take Hunter when he's a kid, he can make his own judgments from there. But I won't go to Cooperstown if there's a definitive decision that Barry Bonds will never be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I mean it's a valid point. I mean he's like you said it. You said it best. I mean, these are two of the best players in baseball history. If you want to add Clemens in there too, and some of the other guys, and not just best players, but just the face of the eras that they played in. Like, say what you want about Sosa, McGuire, and they maybe had a more blatant PED use than some of the other guys, but they made a summer that was arguably the best summer in baseball history at the most crucial time in baseball history, and A-Rod's one of the best players in baseball history, and Manny's an important player like all these guys, they can't get in, and
I mean, the
again,
one thing you can make for Bonds and Clemens that you can't make for A-Rod and Manny is they never failed a drug test.
yep,
Baseball enjoyed their performances, let them turn the popularity around, sold all the tickets, sold all the jerseys, made all the money, and then when it came time to recognize them for saving the sport, they turned their backs on them, and that's just total crap, man.
yeah, and we'll see if one day the Yankees honor A-Rod in some way. I'm interested to see if that happens. And I don't even know if Clemens has gotten recognition from any of his teams. So it's I know McGuire is pretty beloved in St. Louis. I think he's in their Hall of Fame, but Sosa and the Cubs had a broken relationship for a long time, and it's kind of unfortunate that all this has happened. And on the non-PED side, we talked about this last time, but like I envision a time where it's just going to be harder to get into the Hall of Fame if you're not a Chipper Jones and a Derek Jeter and those inner circle guys. Like we're going to see just This year, I don't think any of the newcomers were, very worthy, but there's going to be a time where the stats and the body of work of some of these guys is a lot less than what it was, and we're going to have to figure that out. And I don't think it should hurt them. It's just happens to be the era in which they played, and I hope that the people voting are smart enough to understand that, I guess.
Ooh, we'll see. They're not right now, so.
Yeah. Moving on, moving on from our favorite subject, to our second favorite subject, MLB free agency. One of the big boppers is off the market, or a few of them. We'll start with the big bat of Pete Alonso. The polar bear is going to the Baltimore Orioles, and we talked, I think, last offseason about how it seemed like the Mets were just like not willing to go to a multi-year deal for Pete. And it seemed like they weren't even involved in bringing him back. They didn't even make an offer, from what I've heard. And he's now an Oriole, and he basically got the deal, Tyler, that he wanted last offseason, and he probably sought out for this offseason too.
Yeah, it's just really strange how they just seem so disinterested. I'm pretty sure Alonso's their franchise leader in career home runs.
Something, yeah, yeah. He passed
And he
Strawberry.
passed Strawberry, and to like not have any desire to bring that guy back. And then, this is kind of another discussion. And then to say you're going to replace him with Jorge Polanco at first base, like, what are you doing? I mean, they have shown for other players that they are not afraid to open the checkbook. And so your own homegrown guy, franchise leader in home runs, you're the one guy we're not going to do that for, and then not have like a suitable. I mean, Polanco's a solid major leaguer, but he's not going to be putting up 30, 40, 50 home runs a season like Pete Alonso was at a position like first base where you expect that production from.
Yeah, it's like Hatterberg and Jeremy Giambi for Jason Giambi.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean Polanco's a good major league player, but I mean it's tough to sell that, especially when it literally happened like the next day.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's good for the Orioles. I think a lot of people are worried about how Pete's going to age, and just how first basemen's age in general. And I think it's fair to say eventually he's just going to finish his career as a DH. He is a little bit of a late bloomer. Got to the big leagues late. He's in free agency late, or later, I guess. Or maybe it is a normal time, but. Hypothetically, should have gotten his deal last year, but the market kind of
Yeah, I
stalled on
mean,
him.
last year was his age 30 season. So he went
Yeah,
into free agency on the right side of 30 the first time.
yeah, and he'll be a good fit. And the good thing is, it's the Orioles, and they're a team that doesn't usually spend this kind of money, and it's good to see. It really is good to see. We talked about them a little bit in the last episode, and Rutschman and how they were doing things, and like it's good that they're not viewing last season as what their identity is, and instead it seems like they're kind of going for it, which is something that we could respect. But yeah, I mean, good for Pete. He had a good year, good enough year to where he could have gotten this deal. So he bet on himself and it worked out.
Yeah, I mean, and the Orioles, they're putting, especially if they can get a bounce back from Rutschman. You got Gunnar Henderson, you got Holiday. They traded Grayson Rodriguez for Tyler Ward, who can put up a little bit of pop in the outfield. They've put together a nice little lineup there. I think they'll probably look to add some more pitching this offseason, especially after trading Rodriguez. But yeah, it's good to see them going for it. And if you want to win in the AL East, you have to go for it because there's only I guess only one weak team in that division. So you're going up against three other teams that aren't afraid to spend, so you've got to spend it too.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. So Alonso to the Orioles, and then from one power hitter to another, Kyle Schwarber is not leaving the National League East. He's staying a member of the Phillies. 5 years, 150. Uh, we talked about him too last episode, and where he was rumored to go. But this is a guy who I really couldn't see anywhere else.
Yeah.
He just fits that Phillies team so well, and it seems like they're kind of bought in with this aging core too.
Yeah, I mean, when you said he's not leaving, it made me think of that Wolf of Wall Street Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not leaving. But yeah,
Ryan.
they're kind of going all in with it, and it's not a bad aging core to go with if they can put it together. But eventually, they're all going to age at the same time. But yeah, as fun as it was to kind of talk about the different rumors that were floating about, I had the same mindset as you. Like I wasn't really expecting him to go anywhere else. For some reason, he just kind of seems like such a perfect fit for that team. He seems like a Philly, and now he'll be there for the next 5 years. So.
Yeah, he had some offers on the table though. He turned one down, I guess, from the Pirates and the Reds. So two teams in the National League Central that wanted him. And again, just a clutch guy. I mean, this is one of the better postseason players of his generation. I mean, it seems like he's always coming up big in the postseason. Um, and just a really, big time player, even with the Cubs, during their brief run, which I think should have been a lot longer. But Schwarber back to Philly. Do you think that's an overpay? 5 years, 150 for a DH. I mean, I guess, I think he's a guy who you could bank on aging okay if he's just going to sit there and hit homers at the DH position. But
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we talked about age for Alonso. Schwarber is a couple years older than Alonso, but he does get on base as well. He takes some walks, and he hits some tanks. So I mean, if you're either walking or trotting, it doesn't really matter how you're aging. So as long as you can keep the power, he's I think it'll be all right.
yeah,
I
and
guess I
and
guess where you look at though is if we talked about an aging core, and so if you have a guy, he is our DH, and Harper gets banged up. I mean, he's already
good
moved to
point.
first, but where do you put Harper if he's not able to really play the field effectively anymore? So that's where they might run into some issues. But as far as his performance for 5 years, I could see it playing out. Maybe not all five, but usually in these free agent contracts, you're you're extremely lucky if you get production for the full term of it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Did you see, by the way, side note, did you see what Bryce Harper did with like his blood, where he took like a third of his blood out of his body and just like filtered it back in?
No.
So Bryce Harper, I'll have to send this to you at some point, but and this could easily go on your down list for today, but I'll send it to you or something.
On
But
the
he,
down list, Bryce Harper's blood, like his blood percentage in his body, down.
yeah, no, it's
Yeah, that's is
he's
it kind of like to revitalize the system or something?
yeah, I don't even know how to. Okay, here's the story. Hold on, we'll go through this real quick. The headline: Philly star Bryce Harper has a third of his blood removed in health procedure during MLB offseason. So, basically, it's called EBO, and it takes a third of his blood and quickly returns it to his body. So a third of your blood is drawn from your body, passed through a filtration and ozonation device, and then returned to your bloodstream. So it circulates your blood outside your body, exposes the blood to ozone, and will oxygenate the filter, will oxygenate, I can't say that word, or filter the blood before returning it to you. I thought ozone was the worst thing you could get exposed to in your blood, but I could be wrong. But um, I know you have zero thoughts on this, so we we could
Yeah, I mean,
not.
good for you, Bryce Harper.
Yeah, I just figured our listeners would get a kick out of what the hell Bryce Harper's doing, but definitely like Maha, like RFK type stuff there from Bryce. Moving on to a different, more universal topic. We could all agree on this, and it's that Adrian Houser is expected to sign a deal with the San Francisco Giants. Adrian Houser, former, I know him from when he was with the Brewers rotation, but he's signing in San Francisco, so some depth to the rotation.
Yeah, it's definitely a depth move. It's not like a needle mover, most likely. He did have kind of an up and down 2025. He had a really good start to the season with the White Sox, and then moved over to the Rays and kind of fell off a cliff. So maybe they'll find some. The Giants have a way of bringing the best out of these pitchers. So I think his was a 2 year deal.
Yep, 2 years
You know,
at 20 at
22, I think.
22 million. Yep.
And I think there's an option for a third year. So he's not going to eat a ton of innings. He pitched 125 last year through 142 back in 21. So, if he can stay healthy, he's, a good back end of the rotation arm to fill things out.
Yeah, no doubt. And a guy who's kind of had quite the journey recently. He signed a minor league deal with the Cubs in August of 2014, minor league deal with the Orioles in August of 2024, I mean. And then in a few days after that, he was released that month. And then later in the month, he was signed August 31st, 2024 to a minor league deal with the Orioles. December 7th, 2024, minor league deal with the Rangers. May 20th, 2025, a 1 year deal with the White Sox. And then Tampa Bay, he was traded there on July 31st, and now evidently he's signing with the Giants. So kind of a different journey, a few minor league deals later, and he's getting a pretty good payday to be a part of a rotation. So good for Adrian Houser, and he's
So
coming to
you
San
said that it was
Francisco.
expected. Is it not official yet?
Not official yet, not announced yet by the Giants organization.
I
Um,
know the Jason Foley, which is kind of a more under the radar reliever coming over from last season, was in 24, I think, with the Tigers. His is official, right? Because I believe I saw they DFA'd the newly acquired Joey Weimer
yep,
to make
now,
room for him on the 40 man.
yep, that one's official. So the roster's now at 40. Um, but the Hauser one is not yet completed, but he does
Who
keep
did
the
they
ball on the
add to
ground.
the Who did they add to the 40 when they threw Luciano away?
Luciano was just on waivers, and I think it might have been to make room for Sam Heg. I'm blanking on
Oh,
his,
okay, yeah,
yeah,
you're
the
right.
the left-handed reliever. Uh,
Henches or whatever, however
Henges,
you
yep,
pronounce it.
yep. So I think that's what happened there. Um, and then speaking of another arm who's kind of familiar with the Giants' old foe, uh, Kenley Jansen to the Detroit Tigers on a deal, 476 career saves. Looking to add to that total. Presumably, he's going to be the closer. So the Tigers getting an upgrade in their bullpen.
Yeah, I wanted to include this one just because, you mentioned the 476 career saves. He's just two behind Lee Smith for third all time there. I mean, Hoffman and Rivera are both, I think Hoffman's right at 600 and Rivera's just a little bit over it. So he's obviously not going to catch those guys, but, kind of fits into the Hall of Fame trend of building up a resume and moving up those ladders. And it seems like he's putting himself in a position to move into third all time in saves. And the Tigers, that AL Central always seems to be a jump ball come October, September, October time. And Detroit put together a pretty nice season last year, so he has a chance to return to the postseason as well potentially.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. So good for all those guys who got themselves deals and who could focus now on reporting to spring training, which is still a few months away. Um, all right, everybody's favorite subject. We know it as three up, three down. And we're going to start with everybody's favorite part of this half of this segment, the downs. What are we pissed off about?
Yeah, so I've got the downs this episode, and I'm just going to start it off with the Dodgers' recent signing of Edwin Diaz. They are now over $1 billion in deferred money. I think it's between now and 46 or 47. So $1 billion in deferred money. I mean, we've talked about it. They're not breaking any rules. I think they just keep kind of showing that this is something that needs to be looked at to see if there's some changes that need to be made. But $1 billion, Steven. Some teams will play baseball for over a decade and not spend $1 billion on their current active rosters.
We'll see how that works out for them. I don't know exactly how it's going to work out for them. Uh, I know for one thing, the Otani money, like it still seems like he's underpaid. But the rest of the deferments, I don't know how that's going to work. There's just going to be, um, especially with the pending lockout, like I don't know what's going to happen with that, and in regards to how much of that you're going to be able to do, and what the state of these teams are in financially when the time comes when you do eventually have to pay this deferred money. So it is interesting. $1 billion is more than I even thought it was. So
Yeah.
it's just
Well, I
such a
mean, almost 700 of that is Otani, but
yeah,
still, it's however you
huge
add it
number.
up.
Yep.
Yeah. And that you mentioned the potential lockout. That will be interesting to see. Like, is part of the reason why players like to do some deferred money is if even if they don't play that season or part of that season, well, I'm not getting paid for that season in 2026. I'm getting paid for that season in 2032.
Yeah.
So you have to pay me the full board for it. I don't know how that pans out. So yeah, it'll be interesting. See how it shakes out. See how that maybe handcuffs the Dodgers in a decade or two down the road. But if they keep printing money at Dodger Stadium like they have been because they spend money and people want to come watch them, maybe it won't really affect them at all. So we'll see, man. Uh, Down number two is back to the Hall of Fame for a quick second. Duane Kuiper not getting elected to the Hall of Fame. Steven's a fanboy of Joe Buck. He's going in. Um, it's always, I think Karuk and Kuiper have both been on the Ford C. Frick ballot. Like, is it 4 or 5 times each? I think.
Yeah.
Um, you know, and if there's ever a call, and I've seen so many people, including people like Buster Olney and people of that ilk say the Hall of Fame just needs to kind of get over themselves, which is kind of an ongoing theme with the Hall of Fame. And put Kruk and Kipe on the ballot together because I don't see a world how you could say one of them is a Hall of Famer and the other isn't. You almost can't even talk about one without mentioning the other. So maybe this will open the door for a fun, literally one of a kind, induction somewhere down the road.
Yeah, I mean, I think from what I've heard is they've done the whole duo thing before, and I guess they
Have
don't want to
they?
do. I think I read somewhere, maybe it was Giants talk with Cole Kuiper, that it's not something the Hall of Fame does. But also I don't see the point in putting them on the same ballot. Um, you know, but I think another aspect to this, honestly, and I will say, like you said, I'm a big Joe Buck fan. I think he's been a great baseball announcer. He's a Hall of Famer in football already. It's well deserved. But at the same time, like you have to have some common sense and I guess some inclusion on how this is all going to work in terms of just age, and you don't want to elect people after they die, and Joe Buck is going to live longer than Duane Kuiper is. He's a lot younger, and it's one of those things where if you're going to do something, just I don't know how it's voted on. First of all, I will say that I don't know how this is voted on, but I would like to see a little bit more thought taken into the account of um where people are in life and where guys are in life, and some even in Joe Buck's case, he's not known as a local announcer, although he was for a long time. But um, the impact of local announcers, like Joe Buck, everybody knows he's a Hall of Famer. He's done 20 World Series games, 25 World Series, and even more All-Star games, and he belongs in. But Duane Kuiper's in his 70s, even John Sterling's in his 80s. Like, how long are you going to make these guys wait to get into the Hall of Fame if they're going to, just do it when they're alive. That's my only thing. That's a long way of saying that.
Not even just like when they're alive, but like let them like know that, obviously get that recognition when they're alive, but like also leave some runway for them too. So they're like, they know that they were a Hall of Famer. And,
Yeah.
especially for guys while they're still working, like, John Miller's been in the Hall of Fame for like 20 years, you know?
Yeah.
It's great, not just having the recognition while you can, but like letting them kind of breathe with it a little bit too, and enjoy that and get that recognition from the fans at the ballpark. And kind of speaking to the both of those points is Bill King for the Oakland A's. He didn't get in until like over a decade after he passed away. And like, why is there a rush? Like you said, and I was going to bring up this point, and I'm glad you did. Like, why are we rushing to put Joe Buck in? Yeah, like, I can see him being a Hall of Famer. I agree with him being in there, but why? What was the rush that we had to put him in this year when you have guys like Kipe on the ballot?
Yeah. He's 55 years old. Joe Buck is 55 years old, And again, well deserved, but why now? Why is he like I think Joe Buck would be the first one to say, like, you know, I could wait 5 years. Yeah, something
Yeah.
like
Also,
that.
like, why are announcers, why do they only put in like, do they do the Ford C. Frick every year? Does
Yes.
it rotate between like writers and announcers?
It's
I
always
think
been
that,
announcers. There is a
okay.
writer award. It's
Because
called
there's a writer award.
the
Thank you.
Spink Award.
But like, why is it only one announcer a year?
Couldn't answer that for you.
It should be like players. Like if you're a Hall of Famer, you're a Hall of Famer. Come on in. Like maybe they need to put like a certain amount of like you have to announce for a certain number of years, so then you're on the ballot. And then if you get elected, if you're a Hall of Famer, you're a Hall of Famer. But like especially announcers, you know, if you think about it, like they are the one consistent that fans have aside from like the laundry that's on the field, you know, the team itself. Like I've been listening to Kruk and Kuip for like 35 years now. You know, they are there for, you know, and this goes for any fan base. Like if you have a good announcers and they are there consistently because they are that good, they're there to see your favorite players on their debut. They're there when your favorite player leaves, and then they're there for decades after that. So they're who fans connect to more so than even players in a lot of times. So why is it just one a year if these guys, you know, have that huge of impact on baseball fans and the Hall of Fame should be for the fans. So yeah, just another gatekeeping thing with the Hall of Fame that makes no sense.
Yeah, no. Good down. That was a good one. Quality.
Yeah. Quality. And then this time of year, especially, it's hard to think of actual downs, things to, you know, be upset about. So my third down is Bo Bichette because he has announced he is down to play second base, Steven.
Ba-dum-bum. Yeah, no, that was good. And like he'd be an idiot not to. Well, I don't want to use the word idiot. That's maybe too strong, but he's smart to do this because I think that's where he's trending anyways. And it's almost like somebody got in his ear and said, "Hey, Bo, like eventually you're going to end up there. So like why not market yourself there when you're still probably have a few years left at shortstop?" Like it's a great idea. It's going to open his market a little bit um to other suitors that probably had an idea that maybe he would be a fit at second. So, anytime you get a guy willing to do that and willing to put his ego aside and shortstops, I think, could be looked at as the most egotistical players in terms of how territorial they are about their position. I mean, just listen to Derek Jeter talk. So it's good for him. I know I'm saying good for him and it's one of your downs, but seriously, good for Bo Bichette
I mean,
for
it's really just a down because he's down to play it. But
he's
yeah,
down to play the position. Yeah.
it's a smart move for every reason that you said. And even if it's a team that, you know, if they were like, well, what if he just sees himself as a shortstop and we don't think he'll play shortstop for the 7 years of the deal? Him just putting out there that he's open to playing second just opens so many more doors. And you know, a lot of people think he's going to get in like the 6, 7, 8 year range for north of 200 million. So you want as many teams to be interested in you as possible to get that offer up.
Yeah.
So
And those projections, by the way, and I don't know what Bo's going to get, but like those are downs. Like that could fall into this category too. Like, I'm sorry, but I've never seen Bo Bichette as a $200 million player.
yeah,
All respect in the world, but I don't see that. I mean,
it's a good year to be one of the top like 3 or 4 free agents on the market.
yeah, I mean, oof. Like that he's a great player, but like we can't do that. We can and again, okay, maybe my bias here is towards the fact that we didn't see him all of the postseason until the World Series. And maybe it's just like the image I have is him limping around the field. And maybe it's too naive of me to think, okay, maybe he's not going to be like that on opening day. Likely he won't, So, also, did he have an operation? Like, he's a guy who it wouldn't surprise me if it's like Bo Bichette had an off-season surgery, should be ready for spring training. Like, he's one of those guys.
I
But
think they took out half of his blood and put it back in his body. But no, I mean,
why are we putting ozone in our blood? Yeah,
he is still relatively young. You know, he's entering his age 28 season. He's led the league in hits a couple times, you know. So, I mean, the potential's there. I think obviously, you know, hopefully for his sake, we don't run into a Carlos Correa situation where okay,
Yeah.
like we'll sign you, and then let's take a look at the physical. Like, ooh, wait, like
Yeah.
I don't know how you're gonna heal from all these injuries.
And I will
Uh,
say I didn't know he was 28. So I still stand by what I said, but I put a little bit more understanding into it. Not a lot, but a little bit more. Because, we know what teams think about youth and free agency. They're very orgasmic over it. So
and let the record show that Steven was sitting while he stood by what he said.
yeah,
So
yeah. I'm not
let's
gonna
go to the
stand up.
ups, man.
I have pajama bottoms on. Alrighty. Let's go to the ups. All right. So we are around that time, WBC. I think from the last time we did this, you and I were huge fans of the WBC. We recapped a whole bunch of it on this podcast. And there's been a number of guys that have committed to Team USA. We'll have the full roster soon, and there, Judge is going to play. He's going to be the team captain. There's a few other guys that committed. But we have who else was
I was
committed?
gonna say like Cal Raleigh, Bobby
Yep.
Witt Jr., Pete Crow Armstrong,
Yeah. No.
Paul
Thank you.
Skeens already committed.
Yep. Yep. So you have the names at the top. I did not. So that's a good save by you. I was just gonna ad lib that. But yeah, you mentioned Paul Skeens. I mean, this is a formidable rotation that they did not have the first time around. Skeens is going to be leading the staff. Scooble's in there too. Logan Webb just committed as well. Like this is a pretty good 1, 2, 3 right there in the rotation. And the problem with the WBC in regards to guys that are with affiliated baseball is it is hard to figure out the inning situation. Every manager has what they want to see from their pitcher, and you end up running out of pitching at some
Well, I think
point.
they put like, there's like actual pitch counts on
Oh
these
yeah,
guys now, right? So
there's pitch counts. There's there. It's almost like little league rules on how often these guys could pitch, and I don't think it's a horrible thing in regards to the pitchers, only because like they're going to be pitching in games anyways. Might as well have it be a pretty high intensity start. I'm not mad at that. I think the whole thing about WBC usage is a little bit over amped a little bit, only because it's happening when they would also be playing baseball during spring training. So it's like um, but yeah, really cool that the WBC is coming back. I'm locked in for it. I'm sure you will be too, and I can't wait for it.
yeah, it'll be a lot of fun, and it's fun to see that, it seems like it kind of goes in waves of like the biggest names, sign up because they want to, because their country didn't perform as well in previous years, and so now they want to, come in and show that they're the best, and so the Team USA is looking really strong, and adding, today, Scooble and Logan Webb are two huge arms. We've talked about both of those guys. Obviously, Scooble, the back-to-back size, and Webb leading all of baseball in innings pitched over the last 3 or 4 years. And for us and most of our listeners in the Northern California area, it's fun to see a giant on there making some headlines and joining Team USA for the World Baseball Classic.
Yeah, and yeah, it's a very good opportunity to kind of just represent your country, and I think a lot of guys, I think especially guys that are outside the United States, like obviously it means something to people in the United States, but it's good to hear from people outside the United States who have gone through a little bit more to get to the States. I think it matters to them. I don't want to say even more, but there's a specialness to everybody's individual, stories and everything and where they've come from. So I think it's one of the best ideas baseball's ever had, frankly, and it doesn't get talked about as much as it should be. But it's such a cool thing, and yeah, I'm gonna be excited to see how all of it works. Um,
Hopefully one of these years it'll come back to Oracle Park.
yeah, I was at one game one year, the Netherlands versus might have been Puerto Rico. So all I remember is that it was the Netherlands and Angel Pagan played. So I'm guessing that was the matchup. Um, so those guys committing and a bunch of others. Also, you Darvish, and this is kind of an interesting one, and it's not being talked about, which is why I kind of wanted to shed light on it. You Darvish is having his third or had his third elbow surgery, and he's pretty focused on rehab. And there was an article basically that said he's still kind of unsure whether he's going to pitch again, which is kind of a an interesting story. I mean, once you go through three elbow surgeries, it's almost like, you start thinking about your life after baseball and how injuries will affect that. But he said he isn't sure if he's going to pitch in the big leagues. This was the quote he had for MLB.com. He said, quote, I'm not necessarily thinking about really pitching as I go through this rehab process right now. I don't have that in my mind. I'm just trying to rehab my arm right now. And then he went on to say, if I get the urge to come back, if I feel that I can stand on the mound and come back, then I will go for that. But I'll just leave it right there for now. And if this is the last we see of you, Darvish, I think we should talk about how this guy's one of the better Japanese right-handed pitchers who's ever lived, and I might even say best. I mean, let's take Otani out of it for a second because he's got the two-way thing going for him. But this is a guy who came over very highly touted. I remember like kind of around the time when I was like first starting to watch baseball. He was the first Japanese player that I remember coming over and being a big deal with the Rangers and just struck out so many guys. He's bounced around. He's had long stays in different spots. Like just a really quality major leaguer. He's going to finish with a really quality big league career. But hats off. He's always been a really tough opponent. I feel like he shut down the Giants quite a bit, but then I also feel like the Giants have gotten him quite a bit. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, just a really good career for you, Darvish. Yeah, Hideo Nomo has the most innings pitched by a Japanese starter, um, but you, Darvish, is right up there with him. So hats off to a good career if this is it. I hope he does make it back though.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't make it to the big leagues in America till he was 25. So he came over a little late, but he's five-time All-Star. I just looked. He finished second in the Cy Young twice. So he was on the doorstep of a couple Cy Youngs. And what's also crazy is those Cy Youngs, those seasons were like 7 or 8 years apart. So that just shows kind of the duration of his, peak and pitching well in the big leagues. He does have 3 more years under contract with the Padres, so they're probably hoping they can at least get something else out of him. But gotta protect your future there. So hopefully we see him again. But if not, it was a really strong and all in a lot of ways kind of under the radar, really strong major league career.
Yeah, hard to believe that he's 39 years old. But yeah, he does have the most strikeouts by a Japanese-born pitcher. And then the first Japanese pitcher to 200 big league strikeouts. Again, it's a hard number to get to just because you do come over so late. From again a very accomplished career in the MPB too. So, um, he got there pretty quick and not a lot of innings. And his son, by the way, Yu Darvish's son,
Mhm.
who his name's Ren Dokyu. He is, I believe, going to UC San Diego to play baseball. So, if there's a second career in Yu Darvish, it could be traveling around the world to watch his kid play, and that's not bad either. Maybe he just wants to do that. So, we will see on that, but that's really cool. Um, Final up here, and it is the youth movement that the Washington Nationals have. And I'm not even talking about on the field, but on the field, they're pretty young too. There is a youth movement that they have. They have the youngest manager in baseball with Blake Butera, who's 33. They have the youngest president of baseball operations, Paul Tabini. I think that's how you pronounce his name, and he's 36. And now they have a 31-year-old general manager, Ari Kabami. I think that's how you say his name. And by the way, Tabini is a San Francisco guy. Went to St. Ignatius College Prep. Shout out SI. But yeah, pretty young operation. And what I'd want to see with that, Tyler, is I'd want to see them there for a long time to build something really cool in DC. It's actually a big market, or it should be a big market. And that family's kind of had the Lerner family has kind of had a stronghold on that team. Um, and I don't exactly know if they're going to sell. I can't remember if I read that story or not. But yeah, it's a cool story to see just a really young. I want to see how it works out for them. I really do. But kind of an interesting story that just the youngest everything in baseball in terms of their leadership.
Yeah, I mean that is really interesting. It's kind of funny. All those guys are quite a few years younger than you, Darvish, who we just talked
Yeah.
about, still pitching in the game. Um, but it's this has been an interesting offseason for baseball as a whole with like the college baseball to Major League Baseball movement, front offices getting younger. I mean, I think that those kind of positions are something that you don't really need to put like an age requirement on if you know baseball and you know how to construct a team and a roster and a culture, then by all means, if a team thinks you're the qualified, go for it. So yeah, it'll be really interesting to see how they go. I mean, I think the manager and the president of baseball ops, if they know what they're doing and they perform well, they can stick around for a while. The way baseball's been kind of working lately, if they're doing really strong, then that GM might get a president of baseball ops job somewhere else. But consistency is usually a pretty good thing, especially in baseball. And so it'll be cool to see how those young men perform and the product they put on the field in Washington.
Yeah, there are no guardrails in hires anymore, especially the managerial hires. And one thing I don't think we touched on this, but a story that I read that I was going to tell you is that Craig Stammen was the assistant GM in San Diego, and he's the new manager in San Diego. And from what I heard, he was like a part of the interview process for who was going to be the manager of the Padres, and he was going around interviewing people. And Nick Hundley was one of the guys that they interviewed. I don't know if you saw this,
Hmm.
and like Nick Hundley was interviewed, and one of the guys he interviewed with was Craig Stammen. So when Stammen got the job, he like told Hundley like, "Hey man, like I'm sorry about that. Like that wasn't the plan all along. They just asked me to interview." But it's almost like he got the cheat code to
Yeah.
how these interviews work. He was there, and then all of a
He
sudden
was
it
there,
like,
he knew what they were looking for, and
yeah.
he
So
hacked the system.
he hacked the system. Imagine being a fly on the wall, then all of a sudden they're just like, "Do you want to interview?"
Did they like let him interview himself? He's like, "Me? What's
Yeah.
your vision for the team next year?"
Yeah, they're like,
Good
"Oh, yeah,
question.
yeah, I know the question about third base is going to come up."
Yeah,
So,
that's
yeah,
funny.
I just think that that was just a funny thing that's happened, and I almost imagine like it happened with Buster, like a little bit with just like, "Hey, I want to do this job. Like, don't interview anybody. I want to do it." So they're like, "Are you
Yeah.
sure?" So kind of interesting. Anyways, I think we shut it down again. I think we definitely shut down the inning. Um,
The the inning has been shut.
the inning has been shut down. And then we're one away from 60. So that will be a big
Yeah.
accomplishment in the history of shutdown inning. And then we'll talk about, who we think might make the All-Star team.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe we can land like a little guest or get like a quick guest segment in on episode
Absolutely.
60 as we turn the page on the 50s here. And yeah, I'm just kind of reading into the future with just your availability in general, but also the holidays ahead. I'm assuming that we'll see episode 60 somewhere, hopefully early in 2026. Hopefully some more free agents off the board. We can maybe listen to Steven complain about how much money Bo Bichette got and take it from there, man.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, this was a blast. Happy holidays to everybody out there listening from our family here at the Shutdown Inning, and yours to yours. Happy New Year. Hopefully, maybe we'll get one done before then, possibly, perhaps. Um, if again, depending on Tyler Hall's availability.
Right.
But thank you everybody for listening, and follow us on Instagram at shut or Twitter at shutdown_inning. Go check us out. Go follow. Go rate us 5 stars. Do all that fun stuff, and we'll see you next time.
That's what's up.
Bye bye.